What is going on, guys? It's your boy Az. We are back here. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having a fantastic morning or a fantastic day so far. And let's quickly jump into it. There was a blog post yesterday. It was regarding the Trepidation? Oh, we'll call them T raids. T raids sounds a little bit easier, but essentially, yeah, it's gonna be a new set of raids. It's gonna be replacing the Spotlight and the Annihilation raids. And yeah, go ahead, read through it. It's gonna be a source of G21s. And what I'm really concerned here about the most, I think, is the fact that essentially they're going to give us those new trait requirements. So it's going to be Hellfire, Insidious, Immortals, Champions, Amazing Avengers. Great stuff. But what I'm afraid of here is the fact that, yeah, difficulties 3 to 7 will be basically Amazing Avengers. And then, yeah, once you get through 8, then you're going to need those other requirements. And I think what I'm afraid of here, and I keep saying that over and over, is the fact that, yes, we need Amazing Avengers. We need to make sure we have, the other teams built up as well. But not the other teams, but Champions, right? Champions and the Amazing Avengers. But then a lot of people skipped the Immortal Weapons, right? And now you're looking at a situation here where you have to build 2 teams, and if you didn't build Immortal Weapons before, you're gonna be stuck, right? You're gonna be stuck on difficulty 7 because they're forcing you basically, once you get through 7, you either need Amazing Avengers or you need these other restrictions, right? These other requirements which basically force for Immortal Weapons, right? Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Obviously, the rewards, if the rewards are worth it, then great. People can start building up the Champions. They can start building up the Immortal Weapons. But my approach has always been in our raid structures in our teams. We've always tried to be flexible and balanced, and at the same time not forcing everybody to build every single team because you just don't have the resources for it, right? So I mean, yeah, we'll see here how it goes. It's a little disappointing, that they didn't keep it from like difficulties like 3 to 8 or 3 to 9 even. But yeah, to force us at level 7, it's going to be, and it will make more sense once I go in game here to show you guys the reward difference. But yeah, I think it's going to piss people off. So we'll see how it goes here. But that's the first point. Hopefully it makes sense. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about it. I just feel like, you're already building up Amazing Avengers. A lot of people didn't already build up Champions either. And now there's going to be a third team, which is the Champions. And then you still got to have resources to build, the Eternals and the Dread. And yeah, it's going to be wild. And who knows what other teams are on the horizon, right? Assuming you even have the resources to build your Amazing Avengers, right? Like, again, that's going to be the newest team, right, for the raids. And it makes a lot of sense that they're trying to streamline everything. But yeah, we'll have to see what the G21s are looking like. Like if all this is just for like an orb and a half, and it's the same as the G20s, right? It doesn't make that much of a difference, and you could probably most likely, hover to the 7, and maybe you don't even have to stress about building teams, right? You got to figure out what works best for your account, and I guess that's the TLDR part. But yeah, anyways, yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm not too happy about the difficulty structures. I feel like they should have stretched it a little further just to give people more flexibility between difficulties 8 and 9 like they've done previously. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents, like I said. All right, so back in game here, as you guys can see here. So if we were talking about, let's say, for example, that difficulty 7, we would get about 260 shards of the G20s, and bumping it up to 9 would give us 430. So this Annihilation raid we are currently in is not the Omega, so just keep that in mind as well. But like I said here, the difference between 7, which is 260 fragments, versus 430 is over the course of 9 nodes, 9 times like 200-ish is about an orb. So the difference could be meaningful, or it could, you gotta wait. I can't decide if it's depending on where you are in the game and what your priorities are. You can slowly get it, but the difference could be enough of a game changer that would plummet you or push you, I guess, into building those teams, right? So I don't know if I squashed it, but yeah, hopefully it makes sense. I guess basically just weigh out the pros and the cons between building all these teams, and of course as well if the rewards are meaningful to you, right? So obviously you can see here the terror credits only go up from 170 to 210, but yeah, substantially the G20s here going from 430 to 260 is almost a difference of 200, right? So yeah, anyways, that's the only point I'll leave you guys with that in terms of that side of things. Okay, so moving on here, the second point I want to talk to you guys about here is, in case you guys weren't already aware, tomorrow we've got the last set of floors for the Blade Tower. I will, however, we are actually heading to a buddy's wedding, so I'll try to get some gameplay if I can. But yeah, there'll just probably most likely be no commentary associated. And yeah, like every Friday, oh man, I'm getting tired of these. But anyways, yeah, it is what it is. That's the way that it's gonna go moving forward. Maybe eventually they'll move it to a different day, but it is right now stuck on the Fridays. But just so you guys are aware, and I wanted to make sure that you guys were, aware of this fact, right? I think some of the other content creators like Gideon and Rage have already mentioned it, but just make sure that when you guys are going through the Blade Tower, you don't necessarily need to do all the cells, because at the refresh, and for example, I left my 18 open so you guys can see it here, but at the refresh, you essentially have your teams at refresh, and you can, use whatever teams you use here. Like for our last section, we've left 18 open, but once I clear 18 and I use for example, my Xavier, my Blue Marvel, my Quicksilver Symbiote, all that stuff, it's gonna reset, right? Once we hit those plateaus, once we hit from 18 to this next checkpoint, all the characters are gonna refresh. So essentially, even if you're stuck at, like, for example, 16 or 17, if you use for example, 16, if you use like your Xavier to clear it, and then 17 you use your Fantastic Four, and then you use your symbiotes for 18, that's gonna clear and refresh here when you hit 19, because it's a new set of floors, right? Trust me, because I've done it several times. I've climbed this tower so many times, and actually even on my baby account, because we're limited by the teams on my baby account, we're able to basically do a couple floors, and then when it resets, we can kind of double dip a little bit when it hits those thresholds, right? The thresholds are usually every 6, so the 6, the 12 mark, and of course as well the 18 mark. And maybe I need to make a video on it so you guys can kind of understand the process of it. But I just assumed that it was common sense and everybody knew that. And I know I've been getting a few messages about it over Discord and on YouTube about, hey, am I going to be okay? Is it going to reset? Like, if I use my symbiote for 18, am I not going to be able to use my symbiote after 18? And yeah, no, you're absolutely, it's confusing. They should have made it more clear and understandable. But basically, the bypass here is once you pass 18, everything refreshes. But luckily for us, even when they do the reset, it refreshes the team that you currently have, and then you can kind of push further using the teams that you used last week. It's almost kind of like a little gimmick. I'm not sure why maybe it was something intentional. I'm not sure, but they should have made sure it was more clear, because it is very confusing for people that don't realize that. The only unfortunate thing is you can't do this strategy on the last week, because obviously it ends, but you can basically do it from start up until the last or the third week. And of course as well, the only drawback is you can't reset your run, right? If you reset your run and you got to start all the way back from the bottom, then yeah, obviously you can't take advantage of this benefit, right? But anyways, yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if it did or it may confuse you more, but give me a dislike, I guess. Yeah, just sometimes I kind of jarble on and on, but hopefully that makes sense and hopefully makes clarity there. I know Rage and Gideon both have some pretty good explanations of it, way better than myself, but I want to make sure it was clear to you guys as well, so you guys are aware of it. The last and final thing I'll leave you guys with here today is the fact that there was a reveal on the MSF website on what the new team, most likely the Dread team, is going to consist of, and it's dreadful. It's dreadful. Like it's the Dread team, and there's no other way to put it other than the fact that it's dreadful, because there's not even a legendary. I was hoping, I said, hey, in another video, I said, hey, Rhino could use a rework, Electro could use a rework, great. Those are fine. They're part of the Sinister Six. But the fact that they roped in Bullseye and Mr. Negative, yeah, that does not scream Sinister Six to me. Like, it's just weird. Honestly, it's odd. There's not even a legendary. If Doc Ock or Green Goblin Classic was in there, at least there would be some synergy. It's a Cosmic Crucible team. It makes a lot of sense. But the fact that they didn't at least rope in a legendary, it just doesn't sit well with me. Especially because if you guys go back here in the squads, the previous teams, I mean, Omen, we had Ebony Maw, and then of course as well, even with the Shadow Conclave, we had at least Thanos in there too, which were two key characters from the previous metas. But I mean, you look at this new team, I mean, they're basically the lowest built up characters. I think, like, if you go look at your roster, I can almost guarantee you guys, you probably didn't build up your your Bullseye or your Mr. Negative, right? Because those were basically quote unquote like they were like very, very skippable teams back then. And who knows, maybe this Dread team is skippable. But having said that, now they are forcing us basically to use the Exalted X-Men for the next breaker. So what happens if they force the next Dread team to be to be the next requirement, right? So that's what I'm afraid of here. But anyways, I'll leave you guys with that here. Maybe you're happy about the reworks. Maybe you're glad these characters are getting reworked. Maybe you've been loving them up. But yeah, for myself, these are some of the lowest characters that I've never even touched. And I mean, Electro, Rhino, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. That makes a lot of sense because, you know, like I said, Scorpion, they have that synergy. But Bullseye, Mr. Negative, like, I mean, there's some synergy with Mr. Negative, but Bullseye, really? Really, guys? Really? So, anyways, I'll leave you guys with that. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next one.